Alrighty, so I've gotten a lot of questions from other trans guys asking if when I had my second baby Phoenix, which is after I had transitioned and had my sort of top surgery or whatever, if I was able to chest feed. So I'm just going to talk about that real quick, and I'm going to talk about the top surgery that I had to, because obviously it relates to that subject matter. So I never had like an official top surgery. What I had was like a super reduction, and I had almost all of my mammary tissue scraped away. I mean, I would say I was probably left with like maybe if it was all like pushed and mushed together, it would be like maybe like a small tennis ball sized amount. But imagine that if it was like a tennis ball size, like bread dough or whatever, and you like pushed it out into a patty, like maybe like about that much tissue on each side, which is really, considering I had double D size tissue before or whatever, I had a pretty large chest before, that was a massive reduction for me. And also I had my nipples resized and moved, so my nipples were completely taken off of my body and put someplace else. Alright, so that's what the situation was. I was actually told by the doctor that I would never be able to like chest feed again. I'm somebody who's okay with the word breastfeeding. Like, I don't see the word breast as being as gendered as other words, but I know that word bothers some folks, so I'm just going to default to like chest feeding for this. But I just wanted to like throw that out there real quick. That is what I mean by it, and some people are okay with that word, some people aren't, but I think all around it's sort of agreed upon that it's best practice to default to chest and chest feeding, because why not? It means the same thing, and if it's considered more respectful, why not aim to be as respectful as you can, right? So me, even as a trans person who is okay with the word breast, want to take a moment to talk about the fact that I am still choosing to say the word chest in the aims of being respectful, and I think that you should too. Okay, so that's where my chest was at when I got pregnant with Phoenix, right? And there was a little bit of swelling and maybe some little bit of regrowth, but it wasn't really very noticeable. I could barely notice it. It was very, very subtle. And so anyway, my surgeon who did that reduction told me that I would never be able to chest feed again. And my midwife, who was super open-minded, like really open-minded, was like, well, anything's possible, but I would think that the odds of you lactating on either side are pretty darn unlikely. But despite all of that, that is exactly what happened. More holes grew on either side. I probably had like 11 openings on each nipple that milk was coming out of, and I would say I only pumped for like the first maybe 3-4 weeks that Phoenix was alive, because it was really important to me to get some of it in there, like the colostrum and the immunoglobulins that help build up baby's immune system. Like, that was important to me, but it was also kind of fucking with my head, and honestly I was never producing a ton. The most I was ever producing was out of both sides combined in a 24-hour period was like maybe 3 ounces, right? And ironically, that is very similar to what I was producing before, right? Because I had my first kid before I had any sort of top surgery or hormones or anything like that, and I was definitely struggling with production, and I struggled with that for months. And even after months of pumping every 4 hours, nursing the baby, taking fennel, taking supplements, fish oil, all the different brewer's yeast, all the many things that they suggest, it was just something that my body really struggled with. And I made the same amount of fluid with, double D size chest that I did with hardly anything that I have now, right? And I've also heard stories from trans guys and gender non-conforming, non-binary, agender folks who have had all of their mammary tissue, scraped down to the muscle, and still they lactate, right? So, I mean, the body is incredible. It really wants a baby to survive, and I think that that's kind of like the common story, that regardless of whether you've had a significant reduction or a complete, double mastectomy, top surgery type deal, there's usually lactation on both sides, which is incredible, right? When you think about how much damage that body is repairing and how many cells it has to bring back to the party, it's incredible. The bodies are incredible, absolutely amazing. So yeah, I would have never been able to like nurse Phoenix full-time even if I wanted to on what I was producing, but I've always been an underproducer, so that could just be me, you know, that could have nothing to do with how much tissue I have. I have, you know, friends who are assigned female at birth, cis women, whatnot, with very small chests, you know, like very, very small chests, who have been able to, you know, produce plenty for their baby, in some cases even overproduce, you know, like, and especially, too, with getting donor milk for both of my kids, you know, not everybody who is producing these crazy, copious quantities of milk has much of a chest at all. So, I mean, that just goes to show you how much mammary tissue you have is not at all indicative of what kind of milk capacity you're going to have, you know, what you're going to be able to produce. And it would appear that the body, for the most part, rebuilds those paths, you know, and that everybody is able to lactate to some degree, you know. So that's what I have to say about that.